Hey everybody, Midnight Riders here again. If you got small kids, you know what to do. My last episode was kind of about the 5 F's of being a real man. And in that first F, fighting, I talked a lot about fighting for freedoms. And, such an important thing for people to be willing to stand up and fight for. And one of the things that I think it just boggles my mind is this whole discussion about marijuana. And man, I'll tell you what, first of all, let me start off by saying that if you are a conservative or a pretend conservative, it is absolutely uncool that you would be okay with something like marijuana being illegal. Conservatives are supposed to be limited government people, right? We're supposed to believe that we, as long as we're not hurting other people, we want the government to stay out of our lives, right? And marijuana is one of these things that has, crime is industry. I mean, let's not get it twisted. Crime is industry, and anybody who understands, our justice system and how it operates, things like the war on drugs and stuff like this, it's never been about preventing drug use. It's been about generating revenue. And one of the ways that they've been able to figure out how to do that the best was through illegalizing marijuana, right? Because it grows so easily. It's so readily available. I mean, hell, it grows in the ditches, it grows in backyards, and if you get caught with it, then that's a nice hefty fine or a nice way to, that's what keeps judges and lawyers in business, right? And the people who obviously got hit the hardest with this is obviously the black community. I mean, I'm sure there's crime statistics out there of how many people have been hit with, minimal marijuana charges, and they've spent years in their life in prison for it. I mean, I can tell you even my own experience as a young soldier, right? I was about 18 years old, and I got pulled over one day, and a highway patrol found a roach in my car. I have no idea how it got there, and it wasn't mine, but just because it was in my car, I got charged with a misdemeanor possession of marijuana. Now, believe it or not, I actually did not get into any trouble in the Army because I was able to prove, I did a piss test and piss clean. So, it was just kind of swept under the rug. Luckily, I had a chain of command that liked me enough. But the point remains the same, that it has messed up a lot of people's lives for absolutely no reason whatsoever. I was kind of looking through some things. So let's look at some facts here real quick. So marijuana has been illegal at the federal level since 1937. The federal government continues to classify it as a Schedule I controlled substance alongside hallucinogens, LSD, peyote, heroin, most opiates, most methaqualone, and ecstasy. So you're telling me the DEA is classifying marijuana as a Schedule I drug. All right, but yet on the DEA's website, let's see here. It literally says on the Drug Enforcement Administration's fact sheet, it says, man, this is stupid. It says that no death from overdose of marijuana has ever been reported. This is on the DEA's fact sheet on their own damn website, and yet they're still considering it as a Schedule I drug. And people are dumb enough out there to believe this bullshit because here again, crime is industry, right? Crime is money. So first, we already, class 1 drugs, right? Controlled substances, hallucinogens, LSD, peyote, heroin, most opiates. So the difference between a class 1 and a class 2 drug is Schedule I drugs are effectively illegal for anything outside of research, and Schedule II drugs can be used for limited medicinal purposes with the DEA's approval. So here's a list of some Class 2 drugs. Oh my goodness, man. It includes narcotics such as hydromorphone, methadone, meperidine, oxycodone, and fentanyl. So you're telling me that fucking fentanyl is safer than marijuana? Man, you got to be smoking something to be believing this shit. And then obviously class 3 drugs, schedule 3 drugs include drugs like Vicodin, Tylenol with codeine, ketamine. Oh my goodness, ketamine is a class 3 drug or a schedule 3 drug. Man, I'm telling you, ketamine, I mean, isn't that's special K, right? I mean, I don't know all these terms, but that's right up there with ecstasy, isn't it? Isn't that this party shit that all these stupid ass millennials are using and fucking getting overdosed on is ketamine? I mean, I don't know, but I mean, this just sounds crazy to me that that's considered a schedule 3 drug, and yet marijuana is a schedule 1 drug. I mean, how stupid can we get? Seriously. So anyway, marijuana became illegal on the federal level in 1937. I guess about 29 states outlawed marijuana between 1916 and 1931. Even though there was large objections from the American Medical Association, I guess there was a movie made in 1930 called Reefer Madness, and it warned parents that drug dealers could invite their teenagers to jazz parties and get them hooked on reefer. Oh, man. Oh, the world we live in. So, here's the funny thing about all this. Everybody, I talk a lot about George Washington and our founding fathers and stuff, right? And, there's plenty of places that try to debunk this, but, everybody does admit that George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and James Madison were all hemp farmers, right? And George Washington is said to have preferred a good pipeful of the leaves of hemp to any alcoholic drink, and that comes from the Ann Arbor District Library.org, so AADL.org. And again, there's plenty of people out there that try to debunk this thing that George Washington didn't do that, and even if he did, there wouldn't have been any THC in it because his hemp was used to make ropes and that kind of stuff. But I can promise you that even rope hemp, it may not all have it, but it usually does still have a small amount of THC. And it's usually got a really good amount of CBD, so he may have very well have been using cannabis as a CBD type of thing, which CBD is an upper, right? CBD is a stimulant. So it's not, marijuana has been being used for thousands of years in other cultures to treat all kinds of things. And, it's been a holistic approach to pain. It's been a holistic approach to all kinds of things in other cultures. So why would George Washington be any different? I mean, he was a healthy guy. He was out there, stomping mud holes in people's asses at 67 years old. So why wouldn't he have been using something like that, especially if it was just a stimulant? And here's even my question even further. It wasn't illegal back then. It wasn't illegal until 1931, right? So why would anybody have even cared if he was doing that? I mean, shit, we'll talk about this real quick. Back in the day, as early as the early 1900s, hell, Coca-Cola was putting cocaine in their damn soda, in their drinks. Nobody seemed to care about that. People had all kinds of opium and morphine and all kinds of other things to, cure headaches and all. It was just crazy the amount of opiates and amphetamines and all kinds of things that people were using back in the day to cure these things. So why would somebody frown on George Washington packing his pipe full of hemp leaves instead of tobacco leaves? It just makes no sense to me. I mean, most likely George Washington probably was doing that because he was an exceptionally healthy guy. He was very alert. And this kind of gets me into the modern day things about marijuana that nobody ever wants to talk about, right? And I can tell you that on medmd.com, it says, here's the things that we know for a fact that marijuana cures. Okay, we know that it reduces anxiety. We know that it reduces inflammation and relieves pain. We know that it can control nausea and vomiting caused by cancer chemotherapy. In fact, we know that it can kill cancer cells and slows tumor growth. It relaxes tight muscles with people with MS. And we know for a fact that it stimulates appetite and improves weight gain in people with cancer and AIDS. Okay, these are things that we know for a fact that it does. Now keep in mind, on the DEA's website, it literally says that there has never been a known overdose on marijuana. We know that it has these health benefits, but yet it's still considered as a class 1 or a schedule 1 drug. So anyway, back to WebMD and their research. So these are things that they think marijuana cures. They don't know for sure yet because there hasn't been enough research on it. But they think that marijuana cures these types of things. So we got Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease, appetite loss, cancer, Crohn's disease, diseases affecting the immune system like AIDS, eating disorders such as anorexia, epilepsy, glaucoma, mental health conditions like schizophrenia, and post-traumatic stress disorder, multiple sclerosis, MS, muscle spasms, nausea, pain, seizures, and wasting syndrome, also called I don't know how to say that. Cachexia? I don't know. On top of all that, so these are the things that medical researchers are trying to prove. They can't really prove these things because they can't get any licenses to study the damn stuff, because the DEA still has it as a class 1 drug. So remember when I read the difference between a class 1 and a class 2, right? A class 1 drug, schedule 1 drugs are effectively illegal for anything outside of research, but you have to have special permits and permissions to do that research. So in other words, nobody's able to research it because the damn DEA and the U.S. government won't allow any researchers to have the permits. We've got all this stuff that we know for a fact that it cures. And then on top of this, now we've got studies being done with heroin addicts. And let's see, this is from recoveryanswers.org. And it says, this study finds that cannabis reduces drug craving and anxiety in patients recovering from heroin use disorder. Okay, so basically, I don't have all the stats in front of me, but they basically did a study. You know, they took a group of people that were, you know, basically just coming down off of heroin, and they gave a whole bunch of people placebos, and then they gave a whole bunch of people CBD oil. They gave a whole bunch of other people full-blown cannabis, and what they found is that the people who had the CBD had a much greater chance of not wanting to do heroin again. And they found that you know, the effects of you know, their addiction was not as painful. You know, I mean, the study really goes into a pretty good detail, and it really is amazing to see that this type of thing can prevent people. And there's been, you know, evidence over the years that marijuana or cannabis can reduce addictions to other drugs as well. Now here's the part that always cracks me up, and I guess this kind of gets me into the next conversation here. Everyone always calls marijuana a gateway drug. And I'll tell you, I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, and I grew up around a lot of people who smoke weed. And I'll tell you, I don't know of one single instance where a person smoked weed first and then drank a beer next, or where a person smoked weed first and then did heroin next. Okay, every gateway drug that I have ever seen, or every person that I've ever seen do any type of drug whatsoever, has always started with tobacco, right? People usually start out by stealing a cigar from their grandpa or something, or they go and get a pack of cigarettes and they go behind the school and they smoke it and they think they're all funny and shit. They get a little buzz and so they smoke 2 more cigarettes. And then that usually morphs into, the same group of kids usually grabbing a 6-pack out of their dad's fishing cooler and they go behind the barn and they crack open a beer and each one of them... My point is that I have never seen, in my life, I have never seen a person just automatically go to, fuck yeah, let's go smoke a joint. I've never seen that. And I still maintain that the real gateway drug is definitely tobacco and alcohol. And I'll maintain that those 2 drugs are far more dangerous than marijuana. They are absolutely far more dangerous than marijuana. It's actually astonishing to me that the American people, especially all you so-called conservatives out there, keep falling for this narrative. Really what it is it's about being so uninformed and so brainwashed that you're actually not willing to go out and search out your truth and find out the right answers. But I want people to think about this logically. Look, if somebody knows of a person who just, they skipped tobacco, they skipped alcohol, and they just went straight to smoking weed, then I would love to talk to that person because, man, I might have to just shake their hand for actually being smart enough to skip over the dangerous shit and just go straight to weed. But that's the point. Most weed smokers don't do anything beyond weed. I don't know any serious potheads who are out there fucking, putting needles in their arms for heroin or doing cocaine or anything like that. And I'll tell you, I've known a lot of drug addicts in my life, especially a lot of meth heads. I've got some in my family. And I can tell you that none of those people are typically smoking weed. I mean, they went basically cigarettes, alcohol, meth. Okay, some of them may dabble with smoking some weed every now and again when they want to, come down off of a long binge or something. But for the most part, they're not chronic weed smokers, and they really never were. They usually skip from alcohol straight to meth. Now, again, if you know somebody that's done different, then please prove me wrong. But I'll tell you what, to me, the evidence is pretty clear. Now, when we look at crime statistics and state budgets and all this kind of stuff, let me see if I can pull it up here real quick. Oh, yeah, of course my computer shut off. When we look at just the state of Colorado, okay, the state of Colorado has now sold $10 billion in recreational marijuana. In fact, in February 9th, 2021, Colorado retailers have sold $10 billion in marijuana since recreational pot started being sold in 2014. That is off of the ColoradoSun.com. Forbes magazine says in January 2021, marijuana sales continued to set records in the state, reaching $187.5 million during that fiscal year. During the last 6 years, the Centennial State has collected over $1.6 just in taxes and fee revenues. That is amazing. When we talk about taxation being theft, I mean, I truly agree that it is. But man, if the government's going to tax people, there's nothing wrong. I don't see anything wrong with taxing things like marijuana and alcohol and stuff like that, right? I mean, it's a recreational thing, sure. As long as they're able to make their money out, that's always the argument with legalizing it is they say, oh, we can't tax it. Well, I'll tell you what, Colorado and Washington and all those other places that have legalized it, Illinois, they sure are doing a damn good job taxing it. And I'll tell you what, on top of that, it is significantly hurting the drug cartels. Let's see here. Let me find another. There was a study done by, this one was done by insightcrime.org. And it shows the study, U.S. marijuana legalization could cut the cartel's profits by 30%. Now, obviously, legalizing marijuana, that's still going to be making them pushing the other harder drugs, right? Their heroines and cocaines and meths and all that kind of stuff. But if we can cut their profit by 30 damn %, You know how much of an impact that would make? Here's the bottom line. Prohibition does not work, right? You'd think that the U.S. government would have learned its lessons from the 1920s, which is, the era of Prohibition. That is when the Italian mafia swooped in and took control, organized crime, to provide people with what they wanted, right? Prohibition does not work. The war on drugs, it is all a bunch of bullshit so that the government can make more money. So that the government can pretend like they're protecting you, all while getting more and more, federal and state and county employees on the payroll in the name of, public safety, right? This is all the hoax that people don't understand. And this is where I'm telling conservative people that you need to wake the hell up. Okay, prohibition is not a conservative movement, right? Because when you do that, all it does is creates an opportunity for organized crime. In this case, it's the drug cartels from Mexico and Colombia and all these other places. They are swooping in and they are filling the void of where normal legalized products could be being sold and profits could be being made. I think Colorado is a great example of how well it works. Now, I'll tell you, I've been all over the world. I mean, I've been to Amsterdam 36 times. That's no joke. I spent many, many years in Germany, and so I used to go to Amsterdam about once a month. And the system that they have there is unbelievable. Everybody thinks that in Amsterdam that you can just be walking around, smoking joints and putting needles in your arms and shit, but that's not the case at all. Okay, if you get caught outside of a licensed establishment, you will still get arrested and you will still get charged with, possession or whatever their criminal code calls it. But at the end of the day, they've got a great system. They make an enormous amount of money from it. Everybody is safe. Nobody's in there killing each other. And it's a very good system. It's a very good profit. And it keeps people happy. I don't care what anybody says. There's no proof that marijuana has any chemical addiction. You can, all this research, and here's the funny thing, it's kind of like talking about like climate change, right? There's one side of the argument that says that it's never been proven, and then there's, another group of people that say, oh yeah, marijuana is absolutely chemically addictive, and, you can go through withdrawals and all kinds of shit. But here's the bottom line. Nobody has ever overdosed on it. You can't overdose on it, right? All you do is, if you smoke enough, you'll go to sleep. That's it. It does have a significant amount of health benefits to it. It is absolutely crazy that in today's day and age, we still have it classified as a Schedule I drug. And, I'm going to tell everybody, man, this is something that real men, whether you use it or not, real men will stand up because we believe in freedom. We believe in personal choice. We believe in being allowed to do things in the privacy of our own home as long as we're not hurting anybody. There is absolutely no reason why marijuana should be considered to be more dangerous than ketamine. Okay? More dangerous than methamphetamine, right? Methamphetamine is a class 2 drug. Marijuana is a class 1 drug. That's absolutely insane. So listen, these are things that I want everybody to think about. This is the kind of stuff that keeps me up at night. We've got to start making freedom legal again. I'm telling you. We've got to start using some damn common sense. And this is one of those things that we absolutely must. There's no reason. In fact, I'll even put it this way. One of the things that when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were running for president, you remember when Kamala Harris came out, she said, we will legalize marijuana nationally. Okay, well, there was a lot of people like myself. I'm not a Democrat, but there was a lot of people like myself that were like, hell yeah, it's about damn time. Because all these fucking stupid Republicans and conservatives, right, they're more concerned about, how many fucking police we have than they are about actual freedom. They know damn good and well that marijuana is not an unsafe thing. They know that shit. And again, I digress, but man, we've got to start using some common sense here. If you are a true conservative, then you are supposed to be for limited government and limited control. That doesn't mean anarchy. We gotta be a country of rules, but the rules need to start making sense. Marijuana has never hurt anybody. It is not a gateway drug. And anybody who believes that needs to go back to school and learn some facts about it. So, that's my thought on that for the day. If you got any concerns about this, there again, I'll talk to anybody about this. I really will. Let's see here. I'd like to give a quick shout out for all you people who are tired of being kicked off Facebook and all this stuff. There's so many new social media platforms out there. Check out Patrol Base. I am in, by no means I am not sponsored by those guys. They have nothing to do with my content or with my podcast, so please don't take it that way. But they have a great new platform, and I'd like to encourage people to go ahead and start getting away from Facebook and start getting onto some of these other social media platforms that will hopefully they'll take Facebook's place. I mean, seriously. How much you want to bet that Mark Zuckerberg smokes weed? I don't know. I'm willing to bet that he has some sort of cannabis infusion thing. I mean that seriously. We all know about Elon Musk, right? I mean, he's an avid weed smoker. But anyway, George Washington, man, he liked his hemp, and people might say that there's no proof that he ever smoked anything with THC, but there's also no proof that he didn't. So think about that, and let's start making freedom legal again. Everyone take care.